Hello and welcome to this video on critical path analysis. You might have heard the famous business saying, time is money. The quicker we can do a project, the quicker we can launch a product, the sooner we can start earning money. And also, the more efficiently we'll be doing it and we'll be saving money. Critical path analysis using network diagrams is a way in which businesses can complete tasks in the shortest possible time. For example, building a new train line or launching a new product. A good example of this approach would be to think about making my favorite drink a cup of tea. These are all the steps required to make a cup of tea. Filling the kettle, boiling the kettle, getting out the mug, getting the tea bag out, and so on. You might want to pause the video now and think about what is the quickest time in which I could make a cup of tea. Well, the correct answer here would be 195 seconds or 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Now you might notice that this isn't the same as just adding all the times together. So why can I make the tea so quickly? Why can I make it quicker than adding all these different times together? And the key is that I can complete several tasks while the kettle is boiling. I can get the mug out, get the milk out, get the tea bag out, and put the tea bag in the cup, all while we're waiting for the kettle to boil. So some tasks are critical, and if I delay any of them, it's going to delay my cup of tea. For example, boiling the kettle. But some tasks, like getting the milk out, getting the tea bag out, aren't as important, and if I was to delay these, they wouldn't delay my final cup of tea. And we can use a similar approach here for a business. What is the critical task, the things they can't delay in order to launch a product on time? What are the areas in which actually there's a bit of slack? Doesn't really matter so much if we delay this particular task, it's not critical. So in this video, we're going to look at how we draw a network, what's known as a network diagram for a given project. And critical path analysis is a technique used to identify the order in which all activities need to be completed when planning a complex project. This allows for the identification of the shortest time in which a project can be completed. We describe the critical path for a project as all the activities that will lengthen the duration of the project if they are delayed. For example, boiling the kettle or making a cup of tea. So the first thing I need to do if I'm going to develop a network diagram or perform a critical path analysis is to identify all the activities, all the tasks that need to take place. So here I'm assuming I'm trying to launch a new product. So I need to do these tasks. I need to do some customer research. I need to design the product. I need to test it. I need to test production, get my suppliers, and then I need to start. The second thing I need to think about is the order in which these activities can take place. So I need to start with my customer research. And only once that is completed can I then begin to design my product concept. So task B is dependent on completing task A. And task C, designing and testing the prototype, I can only complete that once I've designed the product concept. So task C is dependent on completing task B. Commencing production, I can only start when both D and E are finished. So I have to have notified my suppliers and I have to have developed and tested my production method. The last bit of information I need is how long each activity will take. So here we have the duration of each activity in months. So using this information, I can now start to compose or to make what we call a network diagram. And this is how we begin. We begin with a node. It's called a node that looks like this. And this is a point in time, a particular point in time in our project. And so this is the start of the project. So I'm going to label this node 1. These boxes here, don't worry too much about at the moment. We'll come on to those a bit later. So this is a particular point in time, and it means the start of my project, so stage 1. We then add our activities. So the first activity that I'm going to begin with is the customer research. And we indicate an activity taking place by drawing a line. The line represents the activity taking place. And I label it on top as A. This is task A, conducting the customer research. And underneath, I write the duration of that particular task. When task A has finished, we've come to another point in time. And so I'm going to label that 2. At this point in time, when A is finished, B can begin. So I add another line, B, the product concept design begins, and this is going to take 4. When this finishes, we have a third point in time. I add in C, and so on. When C is finished, I can add in D. Now, it starts to get a bit interesting here, because when C is finished, when C is complete, I can begin D. But also when C is finished, I can begin E as well at the same time. I can begin E when C is complete. So in this situation, I have 2 activities starting at the end of activity C. And I would indicate that by drawing 2 lines. One for activity D and one for activity E. And again, underneath, I write the duration. When both D and E are finished at that point in time, the 5th point in time, then I can commence production. So I draw another line coming out from that point in time, F, commencing production, which is going to take 3 months. I then put a final node in, which indicates the end of the project. So at time period 6, the project has finished. So this is how we draw a network diagram. So we've looked at how we draw a network diagram in this video. That's it. Thank you very much for listening.